This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the 606 Media Studios, this is the TCSF Pod with Big Z featuring Stevie-B from the Water Weekend Podcast. We got JC Dynasty Fantasy Football from Dynasty Discourse, The Art of War. That will be dropping very soon, so check that out. And a special guest, Cody from CHGO, the host of CHGO Cubs Podcast. What is up, fellas?
How's it going?
How's
Good
it
evening.
going? Another week, another Monday.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This is cool. I like your intro.
Oh, thank you. We've been working pretty hard on this. First off, we want to congratulate Cody and CHGO. It's their 2-year anniversary, and it coincides with Chicago's birthday, which is amazing. Is that something you guys planned, or is that just something that's a coincidence?
I believe it was planned whenever, before we launched 2 years ago. To be honest with you, going into it, I had no idea, but then I learned on the day of and was like, oh, that's why we chose this particular date. And to answer your question, yeah.
Awesome. All right, we'll get into more with Cody in a second. Episode 184 is brought to you by 606 Media, true Chicago sports fans, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to the gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Get your shirts now. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, X, hit that subscribe button. Come on, Steven. Oh my God, this guy's off this week. If you're on your favorite,
We've been doing it for a while.
Yeah,
so
we've been doing it for a while. This is your spit. You're there. Your skit there. If you're on your favorite podcast, remember to give us a 5-star review. And remember, you can support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go over there and click on the support button. You can subscribe for as little as 99 cents a month. And in this wild episode, you threw me off of there, Steven. I am joined by the big three right here. And the Cubs are looking to free agency with maybe signing a familiar name. The White Sox are down a pitcher already, a starting pitcher, and the governor nixes a new stadium. The Bears wrap up in Indianapolis and finally meet up with Caleb Williams. What does that mean? And a little bit more, all that, and stirring the pot. So without further ado, let's do a little bit of 3 up and 3 down, our baseball segment.
I think I'll perplex him with my slow ball.
1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out.
All right, boys, let's talk some baseball. And let's start off with the only team in Chicago at this point. I'm just conceding at this point because my team just is. It's the pimple on the devil's ass. Let's talk about the good team, the Chicago Cubs, the team with an actual aspiration of actually making the playoffs. So we got Cody Bellinger that signed. The ink is dry. My man Cody from CHGO has been making skit after skit after skit for over 140 days. Is that right? Over 140 days?
It ended up being 147. So yeah.
How did you come up with this idea of just coming up with 140 different skits, man?
Oh man, dude, I was just bored. I was bored and was like, let's just start a countdown. I honestly, I wish I had started at the moment the season ended.
Oh my
but
God.
I didn't really start it until New Year's.
Okay.
It was like nothing. The only thing that happened in November was the council hire.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got into December and nothing was happening except for some minor league deals. I remember doing a skit celebrating the Cubs signing Jorge Alfaro to a minor league deal. That had some mixed reaction. Like a lot of people just didn't realize that I was being incredibly sarcastic about it.
Oh yeah.
So then going into the new year, and it's just like the Cubs aren't doing anything. They're starting to get criticized for not doing anything, and so I'm just gonna start counting down. And I went into the new year with aspirations to lose weight. So I was like, that's how it started. I was like, I would be doing these 40-second videos at the gym. I would use I was like holding Jed Hoyer accountable in a way. I was like, I'm here working out, Jed. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And that's how it started. And then I ran out of ideas and I just started doing these 8 to 10 second ones where I'm just in my kitchen pouring coffee, still waiting, guys. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I guess it took off. I didn't know what it was gonna do, but it took off, and yeah, it was a lot of fun for something that was so incredibly annoying for an entire winter. So I'm glad I was able to provide some sort of entertainment and humor for people. And honestly, that's kind of my thing. Like, I'm someone who's always going to find some sort of way to make fun of something or laugh about something. It's the only way that I am able to get through a lot of Chicago sports moments that unfortunately we all not just Cubs. You know, you're a Sox fan, clearly. You know, I'm like, if I was a Sox fan, I'd be getting real riled up for, I don't know, I'm trying to think.
I think they lost their energy. Like,
I'd be getting riled up for someone, man.
For dollar hot dog days. Dollar hot dog days. Let's go.
Like Martin Maldonado, Cubs legend, man. 13 at bats, 0 hits. I'd be all over it if I was a Sox fan. I'd be like, I'm ready for the offensive season of Martin Maldonado finally coming through. Or something. I would just pick some random player to just get hyped about. That's what I would be doing if I was a Sox content creator. I mean, I what else would I be able to do? I guess I you know, but like I was so bored and trying to find ways to not only entertain the people but myself, and that's just kind of how it came up. But yeah.
Did you ever get a reaction from Cody?
47. That is a lot.
That's a lot of videos.
I mean, I don't think people understand like how that's a commitment to, like, even every day, even if it's 10 minutes. I mean, that is a commitment to not skip a single day.
Right. I think so. Again, like I said, I started on New Year's Day. At that point, it was around like 114, 115 days. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I did it for a good 2.5 months, or I guess 2 months, basically, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's why I said I kind of wish I had done it for the entire off season, but I was just waiting, and then I was like, we got to do something. We got to find a way to make this fun, you know?
Yeah, I remember sending like just one single group text in with us, and it was literally like a guy poking with a stick, just like, come on, do something.
Yeah. So
for me to do that 147 more times, you know, it'd be like, oh my god, all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steven. Looks like you have something to say.
No, I get the whole content thing. I just, you know, that is commitment. I've slacked on doing that because I used to do that all the time for my own stuff. So yeah. I totally get it. I respect it. It's a long thing of editing stuff and all that fun jazz. But yeah. Yeah,
no doubt. For sure. I mean, again, it's, you know, I'm blessed to be able to do what I get to do for a living, man. So, you know, I know you guys, I don't know what you guys do on the regular, but or if this is, you know, if you guys making money doing this, whatever. I'm not here to judge.
I haven't seen a cent so far.
Sir, you're on pro bono.
He is, and he's not sharing with me.
Right, yeah, right.
He's hiding.
Just opened up a can of worms that you guys didn't want to deal with, right? You know, like, because of my unique situation, I'm, you know, I have a little bit more time to do these kinds of things or whatever. But it's all part of the grind, man. And this is kind of like how I got here, just doing this kind of stuff, like trying to not necessarily get ahead of everyone else, but just come up with unique ideas to, I don't know, just get people excited about something, you know?
Yeah, just keep the content coming in, you know?
Yeah.
Like, especially for you guys, because you guys film like every day.
Yeah.
You know, where we're once a week. I mean, like I said, to keep that content rolling in for people, I mean, it's got to be, like I said, a grind and just every day in and out.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, December was tough, man. We did a show in December, like right before Christmas. Luke came in the office in his Santa suit, and that entire hour show was just off the rails. Like, I don't even know if we really talked about the Cubs that day, because we had literally talked about everything, and you knew nothing was going to happen because it was like a couple days before Christmas. And I mean, this offseason was awful for baseball, man. Like,
very slow,
right? Like, so I just I just remember, you know, peak of the off season, like we were just coming up with random shit. We would talk about random Cubs. We'd talk about, all these different scenarios. I think we've talked about every single type of scenario with every single player at this point. And that's the cool thing about being able to do it 5 days a week. But there are times when you legitimately run out of things to say. You feel like you're repeating yourself. You feel like you're saying the same thing, but in a different way the next day,
it's like how many times can we talk about Ohtani? And before like we've beaten the stuffing out of that doll.
Right. And what the cool thing though is the people who like us, the people who subscribe to our YouTube channel, like the people who are quote unquote diehards, which is like our subscription program. Dude, they love it, man. They just they come back every single day, even when there's nothing to I think the real diehards, the ones that like in mid-December when the Cubs haven't done shit, but they care whether it's because they like us or because they just want to listen to people talk about the Cubs for an hour once a day. Like it's actually kind of mind blowing, because at that time, in early mid December, it's the NFL playoffs are right around the corner,
right?
It's college football bowl season.
Baseball's
NBA's
on the back
going.
Yeah, baseball's on the back.
Very much on the back burner, but we were still bringing in decent amount of views for the fact that no one was, or the Cubs weren't doing anything. Hell, no one in baseball was doing anything. So, I think it just goes to show just how passionate, Chicago sports fans are, man. And, I'm happy to be part of it and to help give that hour a day to someone who's just obsessed with the Cubs in my instance, right? Like I feel like the guys who do the Bears and the Blackhawks and the Bulls show and even the Sox guys, they have this special bond with the people who watch their shows, and it's truly different from anything else in the Chicago media landscape, and I truly believe that.
That's awesome. Can you and I was looking at your resume. Tennis and golf, huh?
Tennis and golf.
I think you said. I think it's on the resume. Unless I got another person in here. Did you were covering tennis and golf?
Well, when I was in college, I worked at my school's student newspaper for a semester. Okay. And they just put me on the beat that no one wanted to do, which was men's golf and men's tennis.
Okay.
And I won't lie to you guys, I half-assed that shit like I've ever half-assed anything, man. The thing is they wouldn't send me to these events. They never played home series.
Right.
They just put me on the beat that no one wanted to do, and honestly, I should probably take it off my resume. But when I was in college, I legitimately wanted to be a reporter. Mm-hmm. And I think I didn't really realize how good I was at this, quote unquote media personality thing until I started my own podcast, kind of like what you guys are doing here. I started my own shit back in 2020. The worst year to start a sports podcast, but whatever. So I legitimately tried to be a reporter. I covered high school sports, as it says on my resume.
Yeah.
I worked in radio a little bit down in Peoria for about 6 months. It was a part-time gig, and it was more promotions. I was honestly their bitch, just walking around and doing all the shit that no one wanted to do. I was grinding, man. I was doing whatever I could to get into the industry. But I actually got really burnt out, and I kind of left for a couple years. And then whenever I decided to start my own thing, because I was actually content with my life, I transitioned to social media marketing, stuff like that. And then I missed talking about sports with my friends, because all my friends kind of moved on with their lives in terms of, getting married, having kids and stuff like that. And, I'm sure that's why you guys kind of do this. You just like talking about sports with your friends and stuff. Yep. And so I started my own podcast with a buddy I went to college with. And then I got linked up with the guys over at OnTap Sportsnet. And They have a Cubs podcast. It's called Cubs on Tap. And when the pandemic really set in, I was extra bored. So I was like, what can I do to pass the time? And I got laid off by my full-time job at that time too. And I just happened to be scrolling Twitter one day and I saw that they were looking for like Cubs writers. And I was like, why not? I used to do the same thing for like Fansided like 4 years prior. And I was like, it's probably something like that. But they actually like kind of ingrained my fire again in a way. Like I actually like it felt like they all truly cared about the product and they weren't just trying to use that website as a building block to get somewhere. And I'm still friends with a handful of them over there. I love my guy Ron Luce. I will be inviting him to my wedding one day if I ever get married, but he's a really great friend of mine. He helps host the Cubs podcast, the Blackhawks podcast over there, the Bears podcast. He does everything over there. He's one of the most genuinely nice dudes I've ever met in my life. And we became super close when I was over there. And we kind of took the Cubs podcast, and at the time, the Cubs were at the end of like what everyone calls the golden era, and they were starting to reset. I remember doing the podcast with him when Anthony Rizzo was traded, and we were both fucking broken, dude. I'd never been more sad about something related to sports in a long time. And I remember doing that with him, and I was like, man, that's probably one of the most emotional podcasts I've ever done with another dude. But we were that's how close we were, man. So it was a special thing. But to bring it back around, like I'm just explaining just how close I was with a lot of those guys, and they kind of just inserted this like newfound like energy back into me, believing that maybe I could do something in this, or at the very least just have fun doing it. Like that's what it became for me. Is like I was content with the career I had put together in social media, but I always thought, whether if it's my own podcast or helping them do their Cubs podcast, if it led to making money one day, like cool, great, awesome. But then through a lot of networking I did through doing all that, that's how I met Kevin Kaduk, who is our head of content at CHGO. And he sends me a DM back in February 2022, and he gives me this whole spiel about CHGO, and I just like, this is a sick joke. If this isn't true, man, like this, you can't fuck with me like this. And next thing you know, like I'm quitting my full-time 9-to-5 job in Evanston, and I'm joining CHGO, and 2 years ago today, and the rest is kind of history, and it's just been an incredible ride. I don't like to say that I'm like the biggest Cubs content creator out there. Like I think there's so many huge Cubs fans / content creators out there that have their own unique shtick and stuff like that. I always feel like I am who I am. People either love me or hate me. It really is that simple. And it took a while to come to terms that they're going to be people who didn't like me. Because I used to just be happy if like 10 people watched me on one of these things. And now it's like hundreds of people every single day. And like, I've come across people who really don't like me. And it was an adjustment for a long time. And, it's again, like it's been a very rewarding experience. And man, like they're gonna have to rip the jersey off me to get me out of there, man. Like I love working there. I love the people that I work with. I think we're all pretty genuine. We're not faking a lot of what we say about the company. I think we all genuinely believe in what we're trying to do. Man. So I just kind of went through the whole story without you even really asking.
No, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to ask you anyway, so it's all good. This guy's so natural. It's pretty much what I was going to ask you, like how did your origin of getting to CGO and, obviously going from the beginning of paying your dues, which you pretty much explained. So now that we're intimate,
We're gonna get more emotional.
Yeah,
on this
let's get a
now.
bit more emotional and let's talk about the Bellinger contract. What did you think about it? It's 80 million, 3 years with opt-outs. What is your impression of that contract?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a good deal for both sides, right? Bellinger, if he has an insane year, he could opt out, maybe get that long-term deal after putting together multiple or back-to-back really good seasons. He was like a 4.4 Fangraphs WAR last year, so I don't know. I feel like if he is around the same again, maybe he'll stay, because he's gonna make close to 30 million, not only this year but next year too. But I lean to believe that he'll probably opt out. So maybe essentially it's another 1 year deal. You know what? The positive for me on this is that the Cubs have so many outfield prospects on the rise, and clearly they're high on them, or because they didn't give Bellinger some like 7 or 8 year deal, right? I think the worst thing that could happen is, he just really regresses and looks more like what he was from 2020 to 2022, and then you're stuck paying this guy a ton of money for 2 more years. It's not super long term. At least he probably will still give you the value defensively, but you're probably going to have a lot of questions offensively. But I think he's going into this year with a lot of motivation to earn that big contract that he really wants, like the long term one, that Scott Boras is always getting his clients. So again, I think it's good for both sides. And I just think, he would have to have, I don't know, like a 7 WAR season for me to be begging for him to come back in 2025.
That's impressive. A 7 WAR. Come on. That's
right. It's something insane. It would have to be something insane. If he gives us another season like he did in 2023, depending on what we see from Pete Crow Armstrong and Owen Casey and Alexander Canario and anyone else, like, I'll probably be willing to be okay with, parting ways after 2024. It just depends on how it goes, right? Like, a lot of projection systems don't really like him in 2024, so I'm curious to see how that all plays out with him. But again, he has all the motivation in the world to go out there and get that big deal, and I hope it benefits for the Cubs, because they're right now, playoffs are there, but they're going to need a lot of things to go their way that people like me and you can't sit here and just say that's going to happen. Like, we're just kind of hoping. We feel like projecting it, and this guy has a ton of potential, but we've never actually seen it. So that's what I've learned a lot about, like, prospects and stuff, is
prospects are suspects. They're all suspects.
They're not all like they're not all like Chris Bryant, like, he's just a generational guy, and unfortunately injuries have derailed his career at this point. But when he first came up, man, like, he was great immediately,
Right.
And I think a lot of Cubs fans look at a guy like him, or even Kyle Schwarber, Anthony Rizzo, sure, but even Anthony Rizzo struggled like his first like year and a half or so, like, before the Cubs were ever good, right? Like, you got to expect guys like PCA and Owen Casey and whoever else, like, to just, they're going to have their ups, they're going to have their downs, man. Like, they're young players, and like, the league will adjust. And so it just kind of depends for me how that all kind of plays out. But I mean, for me to like be begging for him to come back in 2025, he'd have to have like an insane season, like MVP caliber season.
And how do you see that happening when you have a lineup of Ian Happ, you got Suzuki, Bellinger would probably be the 3, maybe a 4. You got Morel, Swanson, Bush, Horner, Wisdom, and Gomes. That's a projected lineup that you're going to have for the Chicago Cubs. I don't see a lot of protection there. I think Suzuki, he got hot towards the end of the year in August, but the rest of the year he wasn't there. Happ is very streaky as well. Morel's at a new position. And I mean, Swanson is, obviously Swanson, he's going to be his usual self, very consistent, but is never going to have a booming year. Then the rest of the lineup, I mean, is just at the bottom of the lineup. There's nothing spectacular about that. Are we banking on the new manager coming from the Milwaukee Brewers over there and taking all that young talent and elevating them? Are the Cubs expecting them, the manager, to elevate this lineup with not many superstars?
I definitely think the Cubs are banking on Craig Counsell to help them win a handful more games than last year. That's for sure. I mean, entering September last year, the Cubs were on pace for 90 wins, and they finished with 83. So I can't deny that. I do feel like the Cubs are going to use Craig Counsell as a way to try to extract as many or as much value out of all of their young players as they can. I have, good and bad thoughts about that because it makes you feel like you're supporting a small market team whenever the Chicago Cubs are not a small market team, but I digress. But at the same time, Craig Counsell, to me, he always did so much with not necessarily so little, but just like you look at Milwaukee and you're like how are they doing this? Like, okay, they had the pitching, right? They always had Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta. Like, they were able to develop pitching. They had Josh Hader. Then they developed Devin Williams. They were able to piece a bullpen together really well. He managed a bullpen really well. You always just question, like, are they ever going to have the offense though? Especially after Christian Yelich kind of fell off from his MVP caliber self. Last year I felt like their offense probably did take a little bit of a step forward because they added Contreras. And they have some young guys too that came up. I know Garrett Mitchell, they're high on him. Sal Frelick, Jackson Chourio is going to be on their team this year. Who they already, they gave they paid him already, and he hasn't even played a
game yet.
Right. But as far as last year, they had some guys. Joey Weimer is a guy that they really like. He can hit the ball really far, but the question is he going to hit the ball? But either way, he was able to take a lot of these young guys and just put them in position to succeed. And whether it's how he makes a lineup, his presence in the dugout, I don't know what it is, but I do think that I'm not it's hard for me to say because I've never believed that managers add significant wins, but when you're an hour south of Milwaukee and you watch that team, you're like, how is this team making the playoffs every year? That's just how, and I think pitching had a big part to do with it for sure. But man, they would get the big hit when they need it the most. They always, when the Cubs played them, it always felt like they were defensively aligned perfectly. In 2018, they were running out Mike Moustakas at second base. What? That didn't make any sense to me. They were able to do that. I know the shift was still a thing back then, but I've never understood how they were just so defensively aligned perfectly that season specifically, and he just did everything so perfectly for a team that just you looked at it on paper and you're like, this team is 500 maybe. I've never understood. So I guess for him, he just knows how to get guys in the right position to succeed, and that was something I felt like David Ross really struggled with at times, especially with young players, because he just really loved the veterans, right?
Yeah.
So, but just to kind of answer your question overall with the lineup they have going to opening day, they're definitely hoping some guys take steps forward, right? Seiya Suzuki, last 2 months of the year last year led baseball in slugging percentage. He looked more like what the player they think he can be. So they're hoping that he can be more of that player for an entire season. Now that's that's a question, no doubt. I can't say that it's going to happen. For 2 years, he's basically been inconsistent. He's had good months. He's had bad months. And when the months are bad, they're bad, right?
Really bad,
and when the months are good, they're really good. There's no consistency. So he just needs to be more consistent, in my opinion. Morel, I think the bat's there, but he's got to really basically take third base and run with it. I think the Cubs would be better off if he can actually play an okay third base. Swanson, I think we know what he is. He's going to be the best defensive shortstop in baseball. Hopefully hit just enough. He's a streaky player, but there are worse hitters for sure. I think Nico Horner is due to maybe break out a little bit. I still think there's some power in that bat for him. Not necessarily massive power, but
should be
when he hit
15.
9 or 10 home runs
Yeah,
last
he should
year.
get to 15.
Yeah, if he could get to 15 to 20, that'd be great for him, right? He still led. He was like 5th or 6th in baseball in hits. Had like 170 hits last year. I'd like to see him slug a little bit more because he hit a lot of singles, but then he turned them into doubles because he stole like 43 bases, right? But I would like to see a little bit more slug from him this year. Not necessarily home runs, but more doubles, something like that. I don't know. So yeah, I'm optimistic about that because he's a really good player, right? Ian Happ, he's been consistent the last 2 years. He's a 3.5, 4 WAR player, right? So he walks a ton. He gets on base. He led the team in on base percentage last year. Honestly, I think he should be leading off on opening day if he's healthy. I know
that's the lineup I have projected for you guys, and I'm not even a Cub fan, but I'm like, Hap should be leading off with that type of ability to get on base and his speed, and then you have Suzuki. Maybe he can slap the ball and just move him over and let Bellinger do his thing, and then you start it all over the carousel again with Morel, Swanson, Bush, Horner, Wisdom, Gomes. And again, I kind of agree with you with Craig Counsell was going to be the key to uplift this team, to have more continuity, put these guys in the best position for them to win. Can he give the team maybe 5 more extra wins to put them at that 90 mark? It's definitely possible, but it's also going to depend on the type of pitching that you guys have, and that's something that's been worried me for the past 3 to 4 years with the pitching on the Cub staff. And there's a couple names out there that they can get, and one of them is familiar, right, with Montgomery, and then you have Blake Snell. Why are we as the Cubs not going after 2 good pitchers?
Well, if I can interrupt here.
Go ahead, man.
I was really upset that
you're good, Cody.
No, you're good. We should have got Matt Chapman. I thought that would have been a great addition to the team. But he goes to the Giants, and he's probably going to do really well. But I thought that would have been a great signing to have on the team because there's a lot of holes that you need to fix. Starting lineup, middle, and then relief is there. But you got to really focus on. I would say, all of pitching. Can't really single one area out of it out, but I would have been excited for Matt Chapman. I just feel with Cody Bellinger, I was happy, just as happy because we got someone, but I feel like it's just adding the same players to the team. We wanted more. I think as Cub fans, we want to see more of the money to contribute and contend in this year. So if there's more pitching deals and if we get Montgomery, that'd be great. I think it would help the team out a lot.
I mean, I don't think it's the worst thing they didn't get Chapman. Like his bat is a big thing that I worry about. Like he's got the defense, right? He's won the Platinum Glove a couple times.
Yeah, 7.6 WAR.
Right, but like the bat was the big question there, and so it's like with a team that already has some offensive questions. You guys have already brought it up, right? I don't think it's the worst thing, and I know like we need to see more from Morel at third base, but if he can be that guy, if he can just be an okay third baseman, man, like you got a guy there that is under control until the end of 2028. He's young.
Right.
He has that raw power, fan favorite already. Like, I just think that there's so much more upside with a guy like him there.
He's overall a nice guy. I see him, when someone asks about his necklaces or like his chains or whatever to an exchange. I saw he did one of those, which is great. I think he won a lot of people over when he, Jose, I think he knows who I'm going to go with this. He won people over when he hit that game-winning home run against the White Sox. So,
I was there.
Oh, nice! That's awesome. I was in a bowling, or I'm still in the same bowling league. But we finished. I'm sitting in the car. I'm watching the end of the game. I put in, I don't know, a bet, $5 bet to see if the Cubs come back. They won, which is also why he won me over. But yeah, I was just screaming in the car, like saying yes. I immediately texted Jose. And gave him some shit for that one, but yeah, I think starting pitching needs to be addressed, but also same thing with we need the bat. Again, I agree with you, but there's a lot of I just feel like we're gonna get there, but we're not gonna be below 83 wins.
Well, to push back a little bit on the pitching side, like the Cubs have a really good defensive infield, for the most part, right? Up the middle, right? Horner and Swanson, right? And then we'll see if Morel can do it, and if not,
Nikki, 2
I
strikes.
hate it, but Madrigal can play third as well. And he actually graded out as a really good defensive third baseman.
If he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's decent there.
If he can stay healthy. But my thing is with him, and again, I'm not even advocating for this. Like, if we're starting Nick Madrigal at third base opening day, we're not a serious organization. This is how I feel. I think he's a very nice utility player. That's really about it. If he's in the right role, he can be a very valuable player. But you got the really good up the middle defense. We'll see how Bush plays at first. How hard can it be, man? It's got to be better than Trey Mancini and Eric Hosmer. We're not asking for
God. Can't believe they even signed those names.
But, you know, the Cubs pitching staff has a lot of guys who can get ground balls. So if we're, you know, hitting a lot of ground balls with Swanson or Horner, you're getting outs one way or another. The only thing that I'm kind of worried about, and this was the thing last year, was that they just didn't strike out a ton of guys. They're hoping that Imanaga can be that guy because he did that in Japan. The thing is that it's year 1 coming from Japan.
Right. Yeah.
Will he transition well to the major league game? It's a big question, right? I mean, you can say the same thing about Yamamoto too. You know, I know he looks filthy and like he's getting a ton of hype, and rightfully so. I mean, he's super young and has so much potential. Imanaga, you know, again, he, I believe, had a pretty solid strikeout rate in Japan. So for me, it's like you got to see how it plays out. The Cubs clearly believed in him. But at the same time, Cade Horton will probably debut this year too. And I see him as a top of rotation guy in 2025. When I kind of project how he could be in 2024, though, is kind of like how Brandon Pfaadt debuted with the Diamondbacks, who was really good for them in the playoffs last year. You know, just be a guy that kind of comes up at some point and probably has some ups and downs, but just kind of figures it out come October. And then he really takes over as one of your top dogs in 2025. You know, he was a lot of the prospect people say he's like the best pitching prospect in baseball, like top 2 or 3 at least. Coming into the season, he was the best pitcher in the draft that he was taken in. He's got a lot of hype. So I think with this year, though, that I think they might have like a pitch count on him, and I think that's one reason why he wasn't invited to Major League Camp, and also why he's probably, you know, he's not going to start the year with the team. So I could see him, you know, mid-season sometime, and if the Cubs are there, if they're in this race, he could be that big difference maker that can bring that swing and miss that I'm talking about that the Cubs are missing. So I like what they have already. It's shown to be fine. It's nothing elite, but again, they're all ground ball pitchers and they have a really good defensive infield up the middle. A lot of ground balls to short and second base mostly, right? Bellinger out in center. Eventually he could be back at first base with PCA in center, who's one of the best defensive outfielders, prospects that are outfielders, right? They have some good defensive players, right? Just got to keep the ball in the ballpark and, you know, not get banged around all the time, right? So but to be honest with you, I'm actually more optimistic about the pitching than I am the offense. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're all a little bit opposite here.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at Steele, Imanga, Tyon, Hendricks, Wicks, and Assad. Those are your 6 starting pitchers. One of them is going to be odd man out, obviously, right? And which one is it going to be? And then also, you know, Kyle Hendricks is on the tail end of his career. Will his body hold up the whole entire season? This is probably why they have 6 guys up there listed as starting pitching. And that's why I'm worried. I'm worried about these guys getting injured, and then what depth do you have coming in? Obviously, you have Cade Horton, but he, like you said, he's on a pitch count. He's not going to be there in April and May and June. He's going to be there towards the end of the season. He might be a long relief guy. He might come in for a doubleheader, just get some innings in, just get into that throwing motion and getting him used to major league hitting. That's where I see that going. Where I'm worried about is a starting pitcher, because Imagna is a player we don't know. How will MLB adjust to him, and how fast will they adjust to him? And then he has got to make the adjustment, right? And then, you know, it's just, steel. Is it good steel or bad steel? Is it Man of Steel or Jesus? Steal him away. Stainless steel. So I mean, I have to watch a lot of Cubs games because my team is horrible. So I have to watch Cubs game to lift my spirits and see a winning team.
Yeah.
So I have to be knowledgeable about these players. And that's what worries me. For me, it's the pitching. It was the pitching last year, and it's the pitching again this year. I think defensively, and then with a good manager, it's going to put you in good positions. I think the offense is going to be sustainable, and I also think that they will be making a big splash come trade deadline because they will be in the hunt.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Steele, I mean, he was pretty consistent all of last year. I think in September he started to fall off because it was the first year, like the most innings he ever pitched in his career.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was a learning experience for him. But the one thing that I don't feel like enough people are saying about Craig Counsell is when he was in Milwaukee, he gave the guys in that rotation extra days off all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they would run multiple starting pitch. Like it wasn't just the set five. And that's where I think the value in a guy like Javier Assad, Hayden Wesneski as well.
Yeah, Wesneski.
Eventually Cade Horton will. I think Cade Horton is a July or August type guy. We'll see. Drew Smiley, whatever, maybe. There's again, I just named 3 guys, 2 of them that I feel okay in spot starts. They're not going to be in the rotation. They'll be fine. I think Jordan Wicks is going to get that 5th spot. And, just like Imanaga, it's going to be a roller coaster with him at first. At least it might feel like one because, again, he's never pitched a full season. But that he's been a starter his entire career. He, went to Kansas State. He was a starter there. He was a starter throughout the entire his entire minor league career coming through the Cubs system. So I think that's how the Cubs are going to use him as a starter. So I think he's pretty much going to have that spot because if not, I think they send him to Iowa. And I assume maybe Assad would take that spot. I just don't think they're going to do that. So again, I think for them to be able to give guys some extra rest to get through a season, they will utilize having these extra starting pitchers. And, I say that because Jed Hoyer and Craig Counsell themselves have, kind of gone on record saying that you need more than just 5 guys now. And I know that those names aren't exactly like fancy, but again, like he did this in Milwaukee with guys that you've never heard of too. So I will say Assad kind of came into his own last year. He, like David Ross, put him in like every single role possible. And I think he impressed a lot of Cubs fans. So, he's coming into a year now where I think there's a little bit higher expectations, but I think the cool thing about him is that he just takes any role that the Cubs put him in and he just kind of embraces the opportunity. He also pitched in the World Baseball Classic last year and he was on Team Mexico. I watched him just go through Team USA in one of the innings that he pitched. And so he's got stuff, and he had some games where he did start last year where you were like, wow, like where did this come from? So again, they don't have that bona fide number 1 starter. I think Cade Horton can be that in 2025, but I think that they're really going to utilize that defense they have, and they're just going to ask their starters to keep them in games. And I do think Craig Counsell will utilize guys like Assad and Wesneski and maybe even Drew Smiley as, guys who can give them spot starts in certain parts of the season to, give guys extra rest so they can get through the season. A guy like Justin Steele who can, go into September and not be exhausted from, pitching every 5th day. Stuff like that. So it sounds soft, I know, because I'm so used to as a kid to like just see guys go out there and pitch 200 innings, but it's just not
Terry Wood. Yeah,
it just isn't. Like you can look at Baseball Reference, whatever, and just look at pitchers like these last handful of years. It's like you can count them on 2 hands at most of the amount of guys pitching 200 innings anymore. If your guy gives you 150 innings, that's like really good in today's age, right? So
I agree.
That's like basically what I'm asking for a lot of these guys in the Cubs rotation to give them. So obviously Tyone is kind of a toss-up. Like you're hoping he bounces back. Kyle Hendricks, yeah, he's older, but he's thrown 89 his entire career. Like he does everything based off location.
Yeah, he's
ground
Greg
ball
Maddux.
pitcher.
He's Greg Maddux.
You know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let me bring up a name right quick because we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now. How would you feel about bringing in like a Trevor Bauer, even on that real cheap contract?
Yeah.
Yes, we know there's going to be PR issues. We know there's going to be things that the Cubs are going to have to deal with bringing a guy like him in.
Yeah.
But he would be able, like you said, to fill in some of those extra games, fill in some of those innings. And like we talked about last week, bringing him up was that come trade deadline, if he's doing well enough on a potential league minimum,
Yep.
Yeah.
what team wouldn't want to trade for him potentially? So it's one of those where we have a guy that's coming in, he's filling in here and there, doing really well. He's showing the league, hey, I still got some stuff left, that I can still be a productive pitcher. And the Cubs, like I said, at trade deadline, potentially we could trade him for some future prospects, or get some cap relief, or whatever we want to do to get some stuff down the road.
Man, I've been asked about Trevor Bauer.
We went back and forth for the past 2-3 weeks on this.
Yeah, like I said, we've been talking for a couple of weeks, and I keep bringing up where it's like, okay, even if he does halfway decent, if he's on that league minimum, like what team wouldn't be like, oh, I can get him for the Coke for a vending machine, like
yeah.
What I mean?
Well, I'll say this from a pure baseball perspective. Like, yeah, he'd automatically make any team's rotation better. I mean, even in Japan last year, he was good, right? There's no doubt that he has the talent to be, one of the top arms in your rotation, no matter any team. And maybe not like, I don't know, the Braves or something like that. But like most teams, he'd be the number one or number two, right? That said, the off the field stuff. And again, this isn't necessarily even my opinion. This is just based off what we know and the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is this guy's been on social media basically saying that he would take the veteran minimum and no team signing this guy.
Right.
And to me, that's like, he's out there, like basically he's out there quite literally saying
he's begging
for a job, like, and saying that he would take the veteran minimum, a guy of his caliber, a guy of his talent, and no team is doing it. And I think of course it's a mixture of the PR situation.
It is a
right?
PR nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, we had a PR situation with Aroldis Chapman during the World Series year. I
know. It's same thing with Addison Russell. Like, yeah. I know. I'm just saying that, like, the fact that he is out there publicly saying he would play for that little amount of money with the talent that he has, and no team yet has done it, I think that speaks volumes to how he's perceived around the league. And that's just pure, like, tinfoil hat theory on my head, man. Like, me personally, like I said, never liked the guy. Like, it's not even because of the stuff that happened with the Dodgers and all of that. Like, from outside looking in, he has a
diva quality, and like I said, he's definitely a cat that beats to his own drum.
Sure,
there's no denying that. But like I said, it's. I think, Jose, we said what? It was 740,000?
Something like that.
The league minimum?
I think he's a veteran. 8 minimum was like 740 or 870, something like that.
Yeah. So, like, again, like, me personally, even before all this stuff with the Dodgers a few years ago, I had never really liked the guy. I felt like he was very much a me guy. And you can't measure how much certain guys' attitudes, all this stuff. Like, he isn't the only guy in baseball that probably is not popular around the league or whatever, right? So yeah, maybe in the grand scheme it is just a PR thing, but I've just never seen a guy publicly, like, of his talent, publicly say that I'll play for this much and then no one act on it. I think if he does get signed, it's going to be like the A's or someone like that.
You know what's funny is no major league player, no former teammates also coming behind him and defending him and say, hey, yeah, he's a good teammate. You know what? He'd be an asset to any team. The White Sox need a pitcher. Come on, just sign him over there. No one's gonna watch him anyways, so just put him on there and pay him in $1 hot dogs. I don't care what you do. Let's get a winning culture on the South Side too.
I get why like fans want him on their team, whether it's Cubs fans or Sox fans. Man, like the guy clearly has talent. He's clearly one of the best pitchers in the league. Over the last handful of years, right? But like, I just think teams are looking at it so completely different than how fans are. And to me, the fact that it's March 4th and he hasn't signed with the team yet, like, I'm surprised he hasn't just decided to go back to Japan yet. Mm-hmm. You know, like it, and I think it has everything to do with PR and just his reputation around the league. Because like you said, no one's sticking up for him and no team has signed him. Like I think it has everything to do with that. So like from a pure baseball perspective, sure, I'd love to have the guy in the Cubs rotation. But if from my side where I don't know how he's perceived like by front offices and players around the league, all I can take is what I'm seeing, and that is the fact that no team is giving him the opportunity, despite the fact that he's saying he'd play for less than $1 million for a season, and the fact that no player around the league is really sticking up for him either. So to me, it just screams a lot of red flags, man.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, my only thing is, like I said, to me, like even if I were a GM, it would be like, all right, will you really take the minimum? Because I'm reaching out to you. Will you take the minimum? Because if you're willing to take the minimum, I'm willing to roll the dice. Because even at $740,000, listen, you come in week 1 and you start stirring the pot, I'll just kick you to the side of the road. Right, sure. $740,000 in the grand scheme of things, who cares?
Right.
When salaries are $30-40 million a year, hey, I'll risk $1 million, but. Like I said, we were talking last week where, again, the guy was going through a court case for 2 years, basically, whether things got swept under the rug, we're not going to talk about that and discuss that. But the bottom line is, I said last week, sometimes when you get kicked down and you get beat down, and unfortunately lawyer costs will do that to you. And, as he said in one of his interviews, is that his war chest has been greatly diminished because he was paying for his own court cases. Sometimes that'll straighten up your attitude a little bit. So, sure. Like I said, maybe he has come to the realization of like, hey, this is what I want to do. Like, I love pitching. I love being a Major League Baseball player. I got to get my shit straight. Yeah. So that I can get back on a team. So, yeah, even if it's not with the Cubs, I hope he, gets on a team somewhere where, he can maybe get his life back on track and prove that, I was a diva once, and now I'm ready to be a team player.
It's his last chance. I really believe that if he doesn't get signed by the MLB, he's going to be in Korea and then Mexico and then the Dominican for the rest of his career. Because MLB is not going to touch him ever again if they don't sign him this year.
I'm with you. Like I'm someone who believes
it's just Puig all over.
I'm someone who believes in like second chances and all of this stuff. I genuinely am. I think when it comes to him though, like even before all this stuff with the Dodgers a few years ago, like. He was kind of a controversial player because of the things he did on social media. Some of his on-field antics too. Like I know his whole shtick was about growing the game and being different and like trying to, get people talking about the game because of a lot of the stuff that he would do. Right. But I don't know. Like to me, it never made me feel like, oh, this is making me more interested in the Cleveland Indians or Guardians, whatever they were at that point. Right. Like, I just felt like a lot of the shit he did was just for his own like brand building or whatever. And to me, it was an old shtick. And to me, it's like, dude, you're a professional athlete. You're making millions of dollars. Like, just go out there and play the game, But like if a team signs him, listen, especially if it's like a team that's going to be bad and they're just going to try and sign him to potentially trade him at the deadline to get some prospects. It will be interesting to see who actually is interested in him in July. Or if that doesn't happen, it'll be interesting to see what happens if we get into like May and a contender
loses a pitcher,
has some injuries or whatever, and they're like, all right, we have to consider this, So I don't think the Cubs are going to be part of any of that because they're not a real contender for like the World Series, at least. I think things would be different if they really were a World Series contender in some aspects. Again, like you mentioned, they went out and traded for Aroldis Chapman in 2016, right? They knew that team was a closer away, right? Like I just don't think the Cubs are at a point where they want to deal with that kind of PR nightmare at the end of the day. And we as fans can sit here and criticize it if they don't win, I guess. To me, I probably won't criticize it. But I don't blame fans for wanting the guy from a pure baseball perspective.
No, not at all. All right, I got a little bit of White Sox to want to talk about. We got about 2 minutes.
Oh, wait. I got one more question.
Oh, go ahead, Steven.
So me and Jose started a bet last year. All right, I'm not going to go into details, but I won. So now the tables have turned, and I have the bet that I think the Cubs are going to win 88 or more. Safe bet, right? I'm in the lock.
You're asking me if I'm taking the over on 88 wins?
Yeah. It's got to be over 88. We decide if it's 88 even, it's a wash.
Yeah.
We both get new hats, but
I mean, I don't think everything has to go completely right for them to win 88. But I will say this, and I've said this multiple times, that yes, it feels like they're running it back with the same team as last year, but they also have a lot more young talent coming up at the same time. They're not going to have bats for Tucker Barnhart, Trey Mancini, Eric Hosmer, a lot of these younger veteran type players. They're going to have a lot of young talent coming up to play, man. So
you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying that I'm more likely to take the over than I am the under. That's for sure.
There you go.
I'm more likely to lean the over there, and I think it helps that they play in the Central. I do think the Central could be more competitive this year than what a lot of people think, but I think the Cubs arguably have the best pitching in the division. So,
yeah, I could agree with that.
The Cardinals are a retirement home. The Reds, they got some guys, but they got to prove it. I think.
They're always going to prove
high
it.
Upside. Right. Brewers, okay, they still have Peralta, and they've been really good at developing pitching, sure, but I don't know, man. I can't read the Brewers without Craig Counsell. I got to see it for a year, prove us all wrong, guys, I guess. Pittsburgh, they'll be a little bit more competitive this year, but obviously, maybe 70, 75 wins, maybe.
It's Pittsburgh.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's like saying the White Sox.
So, I just feel like the Cubs have more depth in the pitching. They have a lot more youth there. I think they're just more balanced overall than any other team in the division. Maybe the Reds are the only team that's really contending. Like the Cardinals could be that if their old pitching staff stays healthy. Sonny Gray left the game today with a hamstring injury. I don't know, man. It's a big question to me. They have the offense though. They probably have the best offense in the division. I just don't know if they're going to be able to stop teams from scoring.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I feel more confident in my bet. So, thank you.
I hope I helped, man.
Well, he won last year. It's going to be time for me to win. So do not wish him any luck.
You'll be at opening day, right? I assume.
Are you talking about the home opener?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. We're in the process right now of working out, trying to do a live event before the game in Wrigleyville. It's unconfirmed, but I think it could be at Cubby Bear. It's not sure, but
okay.
Yeah, we did the same thing last year as a country club, but I do know opening day, actual opening day when they open up in Texas, I believe we'll be at country club again for a watch party type thing.
Cool.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I usually go to opening day every year, so I want
Nice.
to see if these guys will join me. I know Jose has,
I got nothing else.
He wants to go see some baseball. Of course, he's going to go. So, but yeah, no, for sure. Just thought I'd throw it out there. I love opening day. It's that's the only day pretty much to take off work unless I'm sick. But
Yeah, man, it's the best. I love baseball season, obviously.
Yeah. I think we're all good baseball fans. All right, my quick White Sox Nuggets. They're down a pitcher. Jesse Schultz tears his UCL, needs Tommy John. In response to this, the Sox acquired Bailey Horn from the Cubs in exchange for right-handed pitcher Matthew Thompson. Horn was actually drafted in 2019 by the White Sox, and now they're getting him back. So,
the Ryan Tepera trade.
Exactly. He was good for us. Tepera was good for us.
Here's my one question for you, really regarding the White Sox.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on this whole stadium thing? Because I'm so fed up with Jerry, and I say this as a Bulls fan, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, same.
Like I just think it's bullshit that he's asking the state to pay for another stadium when we're still paying for the sell, man. Like what is this?
Again, it's greed. He's senile. It's really bad because he is trapped in 1980, obviously by hiring Tommy Lasorda or LaRusse. I'm sorry. It's just he's just stuck in that time where he thinks he can spend a little bit amount of money and create a good team. The 05 Sox where, lightning in a bottle. That's what that was. And thank you. I got a World Series. I got to see my team win one. But they've never had sustained success. And all he does is collect check after check because of the shared revenue. So he's like the Pittsburgh Pirates where I can put a crappy team and sell dollar hot dogs and, provide bobbleheads and fill the stadium for a day or two, and I'm going to make my money. And that's all he really cares about. He does not care about this White Sox team. He wants to maximize everything by not paying for anything. He has a sweetheart deal. He's not paying any rent at the sell, and we're still paying on the bonds for the sell. And what they wanted to do was extend the bonds 30 to 40 years to pay for the new stadium. And Jerry's not going to put up $900 million out of his own money. I'll tell you that right now. He's not doing that.
I didn't think so either.
So
this all said too, I saw like a week and a half ago when I was in Arizona that like Ricketts is trying to get like $30 million from the state to pay for like improved security at Wrigley Field. And I'm also like, you can pay for that yourself, dude. You're charging $12 to $14 a beer, man.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear that I'm like being a Cubs biased homer or whatever. Like this is bullshit.
He owns the whole neighborhood. He owns the whole neighborhood. What
exactly?
What money do you need?
Yeah.
Every ball is John Peck.
The owners in this city, man. Like I think if there's anything we as Chicago sports fans will all be able to agree with is that these owners in this city, man, they could give two fucks, man. It's messed up, man. Because the fans deserve better teams, man. We all care so much. And when the teams are good here, man, like the city's like another level.
Oh my God, it's so different. It's so different when the Cubs are good, when the White Sox are good, when the Bulls, especially the Bears. Obviously, the whole city's a Bears town. When the Bears are good, the sun shines a little brighter, the air's a little cleaner. Everybody puffs out their chest. It's just way better for the city, and I can't agree with you more. Cody, thank you for jumping on. We would love to have you back at any point whenever you have the availability. Please tell our fans where they can find you, where they can find your show. Go ahead and do that.
So you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, Cody_CHGO. CHGO Cubs podcast, CHGO _Cubs on Twitter and Instagram. Man, we're on like every podcast app you can find. We honestly, I want you to go to our YouTube channel instead. That's where we do all our live shows. You can watch us, listen to us on there. But if you're more of like an audio person, you can find us on any podcast app. So I think that pretty much sums it up. But yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. This was fun. I'm always
nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, no, you guys are awesome. I wish you guys best of luck with this and whatever you're trying to do with it. I really do respect the people who do this and are, whether it's just for fun or if you're trying to build it into something like, I really do
give a lot of respect to the people who, are doing this kind of stuff, because it's like you're putting yourself out there, and you're putting yourself out there for the internet to judge and to, either rip you apart or celebrate you, whatever. Either way, sometimes it can really affect your mental health and shit like that. So
yeah, it really does.
I commend it. And, again, if you guys are just sit in your garage, chopping the talking ball, whatever it is, that's what it is. Great. Awesome. You get to talk sports just for fun, and you do it with your friends or whatever. If you're trying to build it into, something that could be more than, I wish you all the best of luck. Cause again, it's a unique thing to do. And a lot of people don't understand how much work goes into it and stuff like that. Again, I wish you all the best of luck.
I appreciate it. Same to you, man.
Thanks, man.
All right, Cody. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That was Cody from CHGO. We will take a small break, and we'll be right back with some Bears, Bulls, and Blackhawks. So stay tuned, and we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride. So do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15
for 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Hey guys, it's Steven.
And this is Sean, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans.
Don't forget to listen to Nowhere on the Weekend. New episodes on Monday. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, so we're going to go do a couple of shots. So let's kick it back over to Big Z.
Nowhere on the Weekend.
Welcome back to True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast with Big Z. That was a great time over there with Cody from CHGO. Thank you, buddy, for coming on the show and breaking down the Cubs. Oh, I still got this up here. Hit the button. There we go. All right, Stevie-B just relieved himself. Hopefully he washed his hands. And
never. I'm kidding. I did.
And boys, I got a surprise for you.
That whole no water.
Boys, I definitely got a surprise for you. And I want to welcome back one of the original co-hosts and co-founders of the show. We got E-Roc back in the building, and he is live. Holy Jesus. It is thunderstorming outside, and we got E-Roc in the house. He's alive, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, shit, man. Listen, last time I was on the show, Victory Auto Records was still in business.
Oh, boy. E-Roc, it's a pleasure to have you back. Oh, my God, you've been missed. You know what? This is... I'm all fumbled up. I wanted to have you on just for the Bears segment and the Bulls because those are the two teams you rant on the most. And, you and JC are my football nerds. And when I need to talk football, I defer to you guys because that is your sport. And you know what? What is your impression of what the Bears are going to do? Because I know we've been talking about it for weeks, but I want to know what you think of what the Bears are going to do, E-Roc.
Let me tell you something. First of all, I am sick and tired of hearing all about Caleb Williams and Justin Fields. I am so tired about it. Now, here's the thing, and I'm going to state the obvious real quick, and I think we all know that if the Bears did not have the number one pick, this would not be a topic of discussion whatsoever.
None at all.
At all. Not even a little bit. You would roll with Justin. You would get a wide receiver or a lineman like Joe Alt at the number 9 spot, and you would keep rolling, right? It's such a unique situation for the Bears to have the number 1 overall pick and have a 7-10 record last season. Caleb Williams is going to come into this team. There's no way about it. Ryan Pohl's entire career is going to be defined by this move, right? So there's no way that he cannot draft Caleb Williams. All the hype, all the everything we've been hearing ever since we knew that the Bears are going to have a number 1 pick. Now, I think Justin Fields is going to end up in Atlanta. He's going to go home. He's going to be able to play for his hometown team. he did go on the with the St. Brown Brothers podcast, and he was talking about what it would be like to play at home where he has all his friends, and it's going to be a bit of distraction, similar to when D Rose was here on the Bulls. But let me tell you something. There is no way, shape, or form. And I love Justin Fields. I understand the frustration why there's so many fans that want to keep him, because you've watched him progress through the shitstorm of Matt Nagy in his final year here. And then see him over here in the muddling, walking through all the mud with the first year of Eberflus, not knowing what's going to happen, knowing that this team is going to be terrible. And 2 seasons ago. And then last year, you saw his progression, right? You saw him come into his own to a certain extent. DJ Moore, his chemistry with him, Cole Kmet get better, but they still need to protect him, right? I think that the shame of it all is that we're getting to the point where we're actually seeing, and I will say, I'm pretty sure that most Bears fans would agree that you got very excited when the Bears drafted Justin Fields, thinking of him as being the new franchise quarterback. I mentioned, 2 years ago on this very program, that he would be the first superstar quarterback you've ever seen on the Bears, with the commercials and how you see all of these guys on TV all the time. Even Baker Mayfield had all those commercials. Now he's going to be gone. Right, I'm going to root for him wherever he goes. I've been a fan of his since high school when he was on QB1 on Netflix, right? But there's no way that Ryan Poles is going to pass on Caleb Williams.
JC, you got the floor.
Sorry, I'm just looking at one of our commenters that just commented. He does not want a quarterback under 6'2". Mike Bailey, let me ask you a question there. Would you take Drew Brees? Yeah, I think we would. So I don't care anything about a quarterback under 6'2". All right. As long as they got the talent, I will take them. All right. As for Caleb Williams, look, I've been on record. I'm over the drama as well. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about him. Hopefully he does not get drafted at number 1 and we take MSJ, and then we can watch him cry in his mom's shoulder again during the.
Okay. I'm going to take issue with that right there. You're talking about a college kid. This is a kid, right? Crying in his mom's shoulder because whatever happened. Who gives a shit? Let me tell you something. I keep seeing the things about him wearing the dress and painting his fingernails and I don't give a shit if he paints his face pink and purple polka dots, right? Like our grandma used to say.
We love Dennis Rodman and he did it.
That's what I'm saying. Who gives a shit? You're going to tell me that you got a guy. Everyone wanted to rail on Jay Cutler because he was such a dick on the sidelines. You got a kid who's not afraid to show his emotion, be like, oh, no, why would we want a guy that shows emotion? What kind of bullshit is that? That's nonsense. Who cares if he's crying to his mom? Who cares? That shows that he's passionate about the fact that something went wrong or something went right. That's a good thing to have.
Sorry, I'm watching Mike Bailey again. How about Steve Young? Steve Young? No. Steve Young? No. All right, we'll continue. I could do this all day long. There's plenty of quarterbacks under 6'2". Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
No. Russell Wilson was about to.
He just got cut. He just got cut today.
The biggest cap hit in history, $85 million. Let me tell you something. I've been gearing up because I haven't been on the show in 6 months. Right, I've been focusing on.
He's backed up, ladies and gentlemen. He's backed up.
That's all I've been doing is softball for 6 months. Okay.
Get the poop knife ready.
$1 million. The largest cap hit in NFL history is more than Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan's buyout combined. Okay, I don't want to hear shit about Russell Wilson.
Well, and here's my thing, and this is like I've been looking down at my phone like this whole time because my group chat with my other buddies is blowing up right now about the Russell Wilson situation, and they keep saying like, oh, well, he's gonna be post June 1st. Sorry, I missed.
No, I'm gonna let you finish your comment and then I'll put it up again.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. They've been commenting like, that they'll post June 1st, which he has clauses in his contract which kick in money for next year if he's not cut by a certain time. So if they post June 1st, I don't know how that works because I know it spreads it out over 2 years. So the 85 million will become, 40 and 45 million or whatever. But I don't know if it kicks in then the next year's money as well. So I don't know if they're going to take on the full 85 million this year, which if they do, good Lord, Broncos will not be competitive. Let the Bears trade for their first somehow next year. It would be greatly appreciated. But look, I was joking around about the whole Caleb Williams situation. Personally, you know, I've said I would love to see the Bears trade from 1 to 2 and potentially take MHJ at 2 and then look for one of these other quarterbacks at 9 or potentially trade up from 9. You know, Arizona says they're willing to trade 4 now. You know, there's some other situations where, you know, there's 6 starting quarterbacks in this draft. Now, are they year 1 starters? Potentially no. Like I said, you got Penix, you got Bo Nix, you got Jaden Daniels, you got a bunch of guys here that potentially could be starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Penix knees is worse than D Rose right now, man. I don't want none of that. Penix can go away. I watch. Look
again. If you could get him in the 20s instead of Caleb at 1, and you could
what? And then you're going to keep Justin
for a year or 2, yeah.
This is career defining for Ryan Poles. Okay,
exactly. And to me, the Bears need more than just a quarterback.
What's that?
The Bears need more than just a quarterback.
Yeah, and they got a shit ton of draft picks, and they got a bunch of money.
And they could take that number 1, trade back 1 spot, and potentially get another 3 blue chip players.
I'm not. Listen. If Caleb Williams is even a shadow of what everybody's saying, and look, like, you can take that with a grain of salt because everybody's saying it, but every expert is out there and they're like, can't miss. Well, guess what? What if he misses? And then
Trevor Lawrence was a can't miss, and he's been mediocre for 3 or 4 years now. Again, every analyst, every person can say he's a can't miss, and unfortunately, nobody is 100%.
Like, quarterbacks is the easiest one to miss.
Moneyball. You cannot look at me and tell me that this guy is a can't miss because you just don't know. You never know.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. But my point is that, so here's the thing: if they get rid of Justin and he goes wherever, right? Atlanta is the most likely scenario because they as a team just suck right now. I mean, how are you going to get Kyle Pitts and he's the worst fucking tight end in fantasy? Like, it's terrible. But they desperately need a quarterback, and I don't see why you wouldn't put him there. And then you bring in Caleb, right? Here's the thing: is that if you're going to get rid of Justin Fields, you have to get Caleb Williams. Everything that you see, whether when you see his press conference, where you see, you know, his ability, whether you see the way that he moves on the field and in the pocket and moves around, you just, there's no way that Ryan Poles can pass on him. There's just no way. It's going to define his entire career on this move right here, and that's predicated on, unfortunately, all of the mistakes that the Bears have made at drafting quarterbacks in the past.
Listen, I don't disagree. Like, this is the prime opportunity for the Bears to get a quarterback. The only downfall for me is I don't know that Caleb Williams is that guy. He has never beat a top 25 defense. He holds the ball longer than Justin Fields does in the pros, and he's in college. There's a lot of things where, again, I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. He's going to be all that, because I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched his tape yet. I've been working on getting together all 22 films and going through. And like I said, my mind is not made up yet, and I know it's very close to being draft day. And I really need to get on the horse and start watching this film. But that being said, my whole thing is, when you sit there and you look at, is Caleb Williams the guy, yes or no? Or can we move back 1 spot and take Jaden Daniels at 2? You're still getting a franchise quarterback, but you're also getting pick 36, pick 40 off the Commanders, where you can then grab your center, which actually, while we were talking to our CHGO friend, breaking news, the Bears traded for a offensive center from the Buffalo Bills. His name was Ryan Bates from Buffalo Bills. So we traded a 5th round pick to pick him up while we were talking Cubs. So again, my whole thing is, and what I've been saying is, I've already said I'm over Justin Fields. I don't think he is a Lamar Jackson. He is a great rushing quarterback.
What's wrong with Lamar Jackson?
2,500 yards passing every year, 25 touchdowns. Again,
twice.
If that's the ceiling, then
you would absolutely shit in your hand and eat it if the Bears had that guy on their team.
Give me a 4,000 yard passing quarterback. give me a 4,000 yard passing quarterback.
Any 4,000. Any.
To me, like I said, I like Lamar. He's a good rushing quarterback, but he is not that good of a passing quarterback. And granted, I think a lot of that has to do with the Ravens not giving him weapons.
This is the thing that confuses the hell out of me. If you have a combined 4,000 yards, just any quarterback, like, well, he hasn't passed for. Hold up.
Okay, but look what he did in the playoffs.
You still don't. So you're telling me
he crumbled? He crumbled because he couldn't run.
Okay,
they stopped him from running, and then he looked horrible.
That those rushing yards don't count. They don't count. They don't count. When you look at his career, and it says all of his yards, all of the yards that he's got in his career, you're gonna tell me that those rushing, they're like, nah, those don't count. He didn't actually gain those yards. That's
winning counts.
He gained those yards. Yeah, yes, he did. Yeah, but again, at the same time, when it comes time to pass the ball, where was he in the playoffs? Because once you get into those playoffs, they're going to stop you. They're going to stop you from rushing. They're going to stop you from rushing, and he can't win the playoffs.
When was what?
Right. When was the last time the Chicago Bears were in the playoffs, or even thought about the playoffs?
Double doink.
He was their quarterback. Right.
Oh wait, wasn't that guy that was a can't miss? Wasn't Trubisky a can't miss on everybody's top 5 projections too?
No. He wasn't on my top 5.
No, I'm saying we're talking about the extras, right? Mel Kiper and everybody else.
Deshaun Watson was the can't miss.
Yeah, but he was in top 5.
Oh, these can't miss guys.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The quarterback is the hardest one to predict to be a top, can't miss, unless it's Peyton Manning.
The rest of the quarterbacks in that draft class are not very good. You talking about Deshaun Kaiser? Somebody, I forgot who it was, but they had Notre Dame quarterback Deshaun Kaiser as one of the top picks.
Right.
Okay. It was not a very strong draft class.
No, it wasn't.
You know what I mean? You're talking about Mr. Mr. Asian Massage, and then you got
Deshaun
Mahomes.
Watson and Mahomes.
Right. Exactly. That was the whole draft class. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, now
I wouldn't have taken Trubisky. That's for sure.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it look. I always gave, whether you like the pick or not, I always gave Ryan Pace his props for it. If that was the guy that you wanted, you went and got him. Fine. Now you got to make it work. It didn't work, and now he's Atlanta and being an assistant. It is what it is. But I'm just saying, I don't see. And granted, everyone has their own 2 cents they want to put in, right? You feel like they should go after a different quarterback if they're going to go for a quarterback, or just, just keep Fields and just keep rolling the way you are right now, whatever it is. But what I'm telling you right now is that there's no way that Ryan Poles is going to do that. He's going to pick Caleb Williams, point blank. That's it. I mean, there's no way. You got a young guy who is in his first GM job, who's trying to basically, I mean, aside from Chase Claypool, he has done a pretty damn good job. Mm-hmm. So I don't see any scenario where he's not going to draft Caleb. I just don't see it.
Well, like Eddie said, it really is going to come down to what decision he makes, and he's going to have to stick with it because it's going to be a career-defining moment. If Caleb is everything that everyone says he is, then he's going to look like a hero who resurrected the Bulls from the ashes. I mean, the Bears from the ashes. And if he fails, he'll be down in Atlanta being an assistant as well. That's exactly what's going to happen, right? And then the problem is if he's bad, then we go through the cycle again of being mediocre and going through the cycle of firing a coach, hiring a GM, and just that whole cycle that we've been doing for the last 20 years where it's been ass backwards. So it's a lot, and everyone's got their opinion. Everyone's going to continue to say the same exact things over and over until we draft. We don't know I'm excited for free agents. We got a lot of money in free agency, and I really think those are going to be the first dominoes to set the pace of what he's going to do as a GM. Are we trading? Are we, once the window opens, are we trading Justin Fields? Boom! All right, then who are we signing in free agency to shore up a wide receiver if we're not going to draft one, which I think we should draft first before we do even sign.
The next thing that I wanted to get to, because Mike Evans did end up signing with Tampa Bay for a 2-year, $52 million extension. 30 years old, like one of the he has most yards and whatever it is. I mean, look, you know what he reminds me of is, if you go way back in the Wayback Machine, of Vincent Jackson when he left the Chargers and ended up going. I think he ended up in Tampa, right? I think it would have been the same scenario for Mike Evans if he would have left his team that he was drafted by. And I think it was a good decision for him, and I think it was a good decision because I don't know how much money he would have got in the open market.
Well, I think it's good for him continuity wise as well. Just to because they're going to bring back Baker Mayfield. So again, I think it'll be really good for him to just continuity wise, city wise, everything. It worked out perfectly for him. For the Bears, the one name that keeps popping up to me that I would love to see them sign as a wide receiver option, Curtis Samuel. He's the one guy. Because again, I don't feel like Curtis Samuel will be super expensive. I think it'll be a slight upgrade over Darnell Mooney. In my opinion, it'll be an upgrade. Curtis Samuel is one of those guys, when you throw him the ball, very rarely does he drop the ball. So, like I said, I think that'll be a slight personal upgrade at the slot position. And then, like I said, we're looking at, again, I really like MHJ, but if Neighbors fell to 9, I would not complain at all. Malik Neighbors, I would run to the podium for Malik Neighbors.
Are you going with Neighbors or Odunze?
Either one. I personally, I like Neighbors a little better than Odunze, but they're different prospects. Odunze is like 6'3", 6'4". Malik Neighbors closer to that 6', 6'1". So again, it's a little more Neighbors route running. Reminds me a little more of DJ Moore, where Odunze is kind of like the Mike Evans, that taller guy who's going to go up and get it. So it's different prospect, if you will.
So it's funny that you brought up Darnell Mooney, because Brad Biggs put out a report today. He had a 3-year deal worth more than $10 million a year that he turned down before the start of last season. He bet on himself. He lost so badly, and he was. I feel like once DJ Moore stepped into the building, he just either forgot how to play football, and he's like, well, fuck it, there goes me being a number one, quote unquote number one, because that was just what they had.
Yeah, but I mean, Mooney has productive seasons, so I could definitely see him go out there and get $10 million a year from some team. It won't be the Bears, but like I said, I could see him getting that kind of money from someone, maybe closer to $8 million, $9 million a year. But I could, like the Buffalo Bills, I could see the Buffalo Bills signing Darnell Mooney. To me, it's like Gabe Davis. That guy will have 2 games where he just goes off, and then like he doesn't produce for 3 or 4 games. So like I said, I could see like the Buffalo Bills potentially signing a Darnell Mooney, where a little more consistency, 4 or 5 catches, 6 catches a game, behind their wide receiver there in Diggs. So like I said, I think Mooney will have a. I'm sorry.
It sounds like Diggs wants to leave Buffalo now too, because the same thing he did in Minnesota.
Well, come on, he's getting frustrated that other than him and the tight end that they brought in, not Dalton Knox. Knox is the other wide receiver. Yeah. Who's the
Dawson?
Kincaid. I'm sorry. But other than those two, again, Gabe Davis was supposed to step up this season. Was supposed to be the guy. Had great. A couple good games in the playoffs, going for like 9 catches, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like he was balling out in some of those games. And then you come into the season this year and it's like, like I said, he'll have 1 game where he 9 catches. Then he'll have 2 games where he has 3 catches. You know,
Trust me, I know a lot of fantasy teams that went down based on him just shitting the bed every time he got up there. And you never know. You never knew if you could start him or not. I mean, you look at him physically, and he looks like the guy that should be able to, be that second in command next to Diggs, and he just didn't do shit.
Yeah, and to me, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure Diggs is, one of those guys where it's get me the ball at all costs. Yeah. I'm open all the time. Don't get me wrong, but it's also one of those where, like I said, as a quarterback, as a team, you also have to say, look, we understand you're open like 80% of the time because you are a great route runner, but at the same time, we got to spread this ball out. We got to get it to other people other than just you. For scheme and
The problem is his quarterback, Brett Favre. I'm sorry, Josh Allen. He he has Brett Favre syndrome where he just wants to chuck it wherever, thinking that he can get it into every window, and then Diggs is sitting there like just like unfortunately. DJ, whoever else was sitting down the field waiting for Justin to throw him the ball, and it never gets there because he's too busy focusing on throwing it to a defender. So you can understand some of that frustration, but at the same time, that's Diggs' personality, right? Like, how dare you ever even look at someone else? Why are you not throwing me the ball? Randy Moss, all that stuff. But Randy Moss would go up there and climb a ladder to catch it. It didn't matter where you threw it. That's the difference.
Yeah, but Randy Moss is a lot taller than Diggs.
That's my point. And that's kind of where I would go for the Bears with the taller receiver, right? Because
I mean, DJ Moore, I went over this last week. I think he measured in at 5'11" and like 3/8 or something like that at the combine. So he's a shorter wide receiver himself. DJ Moore is like right around 6 foot. Right. So like I said, to have a taller guy, it would definitely help in the red zone. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely.
But like I said, I also think having a guy like Curtis Samuel doing that short crossing routes, keeping the chains moving, like the Patriots had, Wes Welker and Edelman all those years doing the dirty work underneath. Like I said, I think Curtis Samuel would be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know what the Bears need. Now let's talk about what they have, because Jalen Johnson is sitting there. Now they're talking about giving him a franchise tag, and they got until tomorrow at 3 to give him a new contract. Otherwise, they got to put him on the tag.
I think the tag is something that last resort. Obviously, because then you have to average it between the top 5 cornerbacks, and that's going to be probably a lot more money than he would be paying on a yearly basis. But our GM said he's going to be a Bear, and I'll make sure of it. Mm-hmm. I really have faith that they will get it done before 3 p.m. tomorrow. If you come out with a statement saying, no, Jalen's our guy, he's going to be with the Bears, you better deliver. And I really think
if you sign him.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know that they do get him signed by. I don't know that they do get him signed by 3 p.m., which is where the tag comes in. But I have a feeling at some point, even during the offseason, during training camp, he does get signed. Like I said, I just don't know that it'll be by 3 p.m. tomorrow.
They've got.
But I know they've had constructive talks.
And then I think as long as they sign him before the season, actually, I think the season starts. But yeah, because you got the league year and all that stuff. But I think before the actual season starts, as long as because he's unprotected towards the March 11th start of the free agent negotiation. So I think that's why they would tag him, just so they can kind of keep him here and hold on to it and work out a deal.
Yeah, but the thing with the Bears is like they've never broke the bank on a player. They've never been the ones to be the at least polls has not shown to break the bank on any particular player. I know we've brought in Julius Peppers and Khalil Mack and some of these guys, and we have paid them. But polls
they paid Montez Sweat. They got a lot of flack for bringing him in and not Chase Clay or what's his name? The one that went to the 49ers.
But he signed for was it $98 million?
So yeah, I think it's something like that. Sweat got decent money.
Decent money, but it's not Nick Bosa money. I mean, and that's what I'm trying to say is Poles has been very good at finding that talent and paying them, but not paying them top 3, top 5 money. So again, it's one of those. I have a feeling he is going to tooth and nail the negotiation with Jalen Johnson, because I don't think he wants to break the bank. I don't think he wants to make him the top paid corner in the league. So I think it's that one of those where he's trying to be like, we're giving you top 3 money, not break the bank and change and reset the market, you know? So again, I think that's where we're at. And that's why I think it doesn't get done before 3 p.m. tomorrow, but it will get done one way or another. Before the season starts, he'll be signed.
So now, listen, I know I'm hogging all the time here because, again, I got pent up frustration. Right? I got 6 months of shit to talk here, but I do want to talk to you, JC, about your opinion of them possibly. Now, there's been a lot of kind of vitriol towards anyone when I mentioned his name, but possibly bringing in a guy like Saquon Barkley.
Oh, I put it in my group chat the other day. Depending on the money and Saquon, you know, it came out recently that he was liking and following, I forget what team it was. It wasn't the Giants, it was a different team. But to me, I don't so much know about Saquon. Like, if they signed him, I'm for it. But to me, it's one of those where, like, can I sign a Tony Pollard for a little less? Can I sign, like, and that's where I'm at, because like I said, the Bears still need a left guard, because, you know, Nate Davis, maybe he fills in. I know we just traded for a center from the Buffalo Bills. We still need a center. So
we got that kid from the Dolphins too. I mean, look, there's spots that they need. I think they've done a decent job. Center's atrocious, though. That's been the downfall. Yeah. And unfortunately for Justin Fields, that's one of the biggest spots where that as you know, despite whatever you think about the way he plays, the way he runs and he doesn't this and that, he's got a guy in his lap every time you turn around, right? And he misses. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, he misses open guys. Every
not only that,
there's always someone sitting there getting ready to change his diaper. It's like, dude, leave me alone.
Yeah, and as we've talked about on this podcast numerous times, you know, when you got a center snapping the ball down at your ankles or over your head or 3 feet to your left, or, you know, it's everywhere but where it should be. You know, that affects, you know, how you can read a field. That affects everything, because when you're sitting there,
you have to make baseball plays.
Yeah. You know, how is it that I can read the secondary when I'm looking at my ankles trying to pick up a football? Like, and then by the time you get your eyes up, you have no idea what the secondary just did, right. You know, and you're trying to diagnose, where am I going with this football after losing all eyesight of the field? So again, I have a feeling there's Cushenberry, there's the center from Miami, and then also Seattle is their offensive center is as well a free agent who worked with Shane Waldron. So that's a potential as well. All my guys in my group chat, they want Cushenberry. But like I said, we'll see. You know, if, you know, Shane Waldron sits there and goes, hey, I worked with this guy in Seattle, you know, who knows? Maybe he's got the pull to bring his center from Seattle.
So I got one more thing for you, right? Assuming that the Bears take Williams at number 1, what do you do with that number 9 spot?
Sorry, I was just reading.
Derrick Henry again might be done.
Derrick Henry is washed. Please, let's not talk about Derrick Henry. The man is like 32 years old.
Mike,
he has more mileage on him than a Honda Civic. All right,
Mike Logic still drafts Adrian Peterson on his fantasy football team right now.
Hey, he's trying to make a comeback right now.
I know. Derrick Henry is a great running back, but I want a running back that can catch the ball, that can be on the field 3 downs, where you don't know if we're going to run the ball or pass the ball. All right, and the problem with Derrick Henry is when he's on the field, you know they're going to run the ball, right. Or it's going to be a passing play where it's not going to the running back out of the backfield, because Derrick Henry has hands of bricks. All right. So to me, Derrick Henry, I would much rather have Tony Pollard than Derrick Henry. That said, sorry, your question about number 9.
Yeah, I mean, So that's a no. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of different there's a lot of different opinions on there about what they're going to do at 9. I don't see a scenario where they're not going to go after whatever wide receiver is still out there, right? But there's also a lot of talk about them going after tight end again at that spot.
Oh no, I mean Bowers, Brock Bowers.
Yeah, Brock Bowers.
We're obviously talking about. To me, as I've said in group chat with my buddies, as everybody else, other than the New England Patriots with Aaron Hernandez and Gronk, name one other NFL team that has run 2 tight ends that have been productive and say over 600 yards each.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, to me, it's not a common thing.
Yeah, to me, it would be a waste of a pick to take a tight end, because to me, Cole Kmet, he's serviceable. All right, he's not a Kelsey. He's not, you don't need the best. He's not the best tight end. Is he a top tight end? Yeah,
absolutely.
He's better than most. So to me, it would be a waste of a pick to take Brock Bowers at 9. Now, if you want to make the argument, hey, we're going to trade back from 9 into the 20s and potentially take him, okay, fine. I would be fine with that. But to take him at 9, absolutely not.
I just can't watch Robert Tonyan drop another pass. I mean, I can't do that. I can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I know he's in the area, but I feel like he was a spy sent over to sabotage us just because he used to wear green and gold. I'm just saying.
No, that was Getsy. Getsy wasn't a spy, bro.
Oh, well, yeah. look, man. The Raiders, that's where old Packers go.
Yeah, to me, like I said, at 9, I'm looking at edge rush, potentially. If it's not Odunze or Neighbors, it's pass rush. Give me someone across from Sweat that can just go after the quarterback. So whether that be Turner or that be Jared Verse or Latu, give me one of those guys at 9. Again, if we don't trade back at 1, we're trading back at 9. Because like I said, I want that second round pick back, and looking at like offensive interior, left guard or center, in that second round. We still need a free safety. So we also need potentially a second round pick. Kalen Bullock and there's another gentleman, Bullard. I can't remember his first name, but Bullock and Bullard are 2 guys, free safety wise, that I would look at as well in that, like, I think it's 70 to 75 range in like overall pick, that one of those 2 guys to fill that free safety spot.
I just don't think there's a possibility that, because it's such a quarterback and wide receiver rich draft, when you have that position right there, that potential. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with Marvin Harrison Jr. You know he's going to go early, but you don't know where, right? You know that the Redskins want a quarterback. You know the Patriots want a quarterback. So, I mean, you could have your pick of like the top, like, 2 to 3. We know number 1's not going to be there at number 9, but I mean, like, look at the guys that'll be available at number 9 as a wide receiver, especially when you're bringing in a brand new quarterback, which is gonna happen. I mean, I don't see any scenario where they don't grab one of these wide receivers at that spot.
Well, to me, like I said, the only thing is MHJ could potentially go to Arizona, right? Yeah. Just thinking that Patriots need a quarterback, and Commanders need a quarterback. So MHJ gone to Arizona, right? You still have New York Giants ahead of you, and possibly the LA Chargers potentially need a wide receiver, because Keenan Allen's getting up there in age, and Mike Williams
plays 6 games a season. Broke ass. I hate that guy. I trusted him so many times in fantasy, and all he did was grow a beard.
I'm cracking up at Big Lee's comments.
Or Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen.
No, Keenan Allen's a stud.
That motherfucker's hurt all the time.
I agree, but he's also still putting up.
The first game of the season, that guy will get like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then he'll be gone until week 10. You're like, bro, I'm already out of the playoffs by that. You're killing me every year.
Look at me with Cooper Kupp, man. Last year, he killed me last year.
Yeah, a lot of people got hurt by Kupp.
But back to Mr. Bailey. Still talking Derrick Henry. Mr. Bailey, Mr. Bailey. All right, show me how many receiving yards that man has. Negative. All right, we are over talking Derrick Henry. That man. Listen again. Show me Tony Pollard over Derrick Henry at his age.
Logik. I better hear some Derrick Henry in the next song, Mike. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I said washed.
Wash, rinse, and repeat.
Walk it back. Oh man,
I will not walk it back. Derrick Henry is getting up there in age. Tennessee doesn't even want him back. Why would the Bears want him? Come on.
Oh my god.
That was hilarious. All right. Any last Bears Nuggets before we take a small break and come back with Stirring the Pot?
Yeah, I do have one. I wanted to ask you about Z. I know I'm taking your spotlight.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I know you have a lot to get off your chest.
I got a couple things here. So I heard you talk about it a little bit, but Bears and Sox are talking about a financial partnership for a new stadium deal.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like the Bears. Okay.
What is this? Oakland?
Does Jerry think that the Bears are going to foot the bill for this? Like, I don't understand. How is this ever going to happen? I don't understand. In what realm of possibility is this a thing?
I think both of them are terrible because you have a plot of land that's sitting there not being developed, and he's only hired for the Bears to do that. But go ahead, Z.
I mean, is it going to be like is it going to be like one of those tables is it Arizona where the field rolls out to get some daylight and then but the track has a field on one end and then the football field on the other. So it just goes in and out of.
This is the snip. It says the developer working with the White Sox to build a new stadium in the South Loop said Monday he's going to forge a financing partnership with the Bears that could pave the way for Chicago to build 2 new stadiums at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're trying to do.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought we were trying to build one stadium for both teams.
No.
I'm like, we are not doing the Oakland.
No. That experiment
you have a baseball field in the middle of a football field.
1920 Bears at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, Wrigley. No.
I thought that was the route we were talking about discussing. I was like, absolutely not.
This is not going to happen. We all know Jerry's going to put in 25 cents to the McCaskies $20. That's exactly what he wants to do. He wants to capitalize before he falls off the face of the earth. There's no way in hell this is going to be approved. And I looked at the finances on that. Jerry would have to put over $900 million of his own money. They were asking this. Yes, they would have to ask a state to further the bonds that they're already paying on the sell for another 35 to 50 years. The state's not going to do that. The state's going to give you a big FU and keep it rolling, kick rocks, bro. Sell this team. Sell it to Mark Cuban or somebody, or Mr. Bezos, Mr. Amazon. Sell it to somebody who's got money. He's going to put the money back into the field, into the product, because you, sir, are the worst owner in sports.
It's rough. It's rough. And the worst part is that he is part of 2. First of all, it's one thing if you fuck up a baseball team, but you fucking up basketball in like
that's his son. His son runs the team from day to day. Jerry has no say when it comes to the Chicago Bulls. It is run by Michael Reinsdorf, top to bottom. Jerry said that's his team. When I die, sell the White Sox. You keep the Bulls. Do whatever you want with it. But that's his. Michael runs it from day to day. But again, it's repeating the cycle. You have someone who's grown into this, got lucky, became an owner at the right time, and you do not put the right people in place.
Listen, the only thing that he's loyal to is ticket sales and Tony La Russa. That's it.
I said that earlier. Yeah, it's exactly that. Hey, come inside for $1 hot dogs and the bobbleheads and Elvis night, jam packed. Boom. That's all he gives a shit about.
I think personally, he hears that the Bears are building a stadium, and he's starting to have FOMO.
He's trying to undercut them.
He's just like, well, where's my stadium? Yep. And it's like, dude, I'm like, don't get me wrong. Like US Cellular, like, that is not that old of a field.
No, it's
Like,
30 years old.
Maybe it could use some upgrades, but like when you go to that field, like it doesn't feel like Wrigley used to, where you look around and be like, dude, that concrete's falling, man. Like,
With the nets holding the concrete, they had the big old nets on there. I'm like, God damn.
Like I said, US Cellular, like it's still in decent shape for a 30-year-old stadium.
It is.
Like I said,
went for the first time last year, 2 years ago, and I was like, this ain't bad. The site, the thing that throws me off is just being a Cubs fan and being at Wrigley, like where everything is still open because you don't have the billboards. The new Yankee Stadium is the same way. It feels like you're just in a giant cylinder, right? Because like you just all you see everywhere you look is just billboards and shit. But I mean, it's a nice place to go watch a game. I had no qualms about it at all.
No, it's a decent stadium, and even if you go there for either a high school game or if whatever event you go there, it's going to be a nice event. Again, if Jerry's worried about money,
bulletproof vests, everybody. But yeah, it'll be a good.
Hey, opening day, everyone gets a bulletproof vest and a $1 hot dog. I'm sorry.
I will say, hold on. What'd you say?
Your fat folds.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been losing weight, sir.
It's the only way to get it in, bro.
I will say this: the only reason why I stuck around so long is because I want an apology.
Oh boy,
this guy over here.
Oh boy, from what?
Who guy?
Because when I made that bet with Big Z over here for the White Sox not winning.
Oh my God.
Okay, I said they weren't going to win over 66 games, and everyone laughed at me, including you. But who was right? I want to hear you say it. I want to hear you say it, Steven. You were right. And I got Big Z to say it. I need you to say it for me. I need you to clip it for me. It's going to go on Nowhere on the weekend. So
NFL special teams coordinators created a new kickoff proposal that would allow teams to attempt.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I remember sitting in that room where you're at right now.
This one
and just sitting right there with the chair right behind you and just getting grilled.
Okay, but first of all, talk about walking it back. You totally tried to walk that. You're like, I didn't say that.
No, but then you guys were like, oh, it's a bet. It's a bet. And I took it like a champ.
Walk that shit back. Look, if I was wrong, I don't want to say it too loud because my wife will hear me say that I admit that I was wrong.
Do you want me to play the sounder? I got it.
Yeah, play it.
I play.
You heard that, right?
No, but I
over it.
Yeah, we didn't hear it, but I got a sounder.
You are absolutely correct on that.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's because I was talking to someone other than Z at one point.
Oh my God.
That is from a long time ago. I had to clip that because you don't hear that very often.
Yeah.
No, that's why I want to hear it. I paid my dues. I sat here in silence waiting for this moment.
I said it.
Yeah, very quietly.
Listen, you could have invited me on your show. I've been on your show one time. You could have invited me on your show to talk about anytime you wanted. You have never had me get back on your show.
There you go.
One time, like 2 years ago.
Open invitation. There it is.
Yeah, it's always open. You just gotta ask. Like when you at your job, when you ask for a raise, you gotta ask for it. You can't just demand it and think it's gonna happen. You gotta ask.
Be on your show. You invite guests on your show. That's how that show works. You invite people to be on your show.
Yeah, but
don't worry, he hasn't invited me either. So,
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's baloney, JC. I've told you. But no, I just wanted to hear that I was right and walk it back. That's all. That's all I wanted.
He apologized.
JC, I do want to know what you think about that rule that they are proposing.
About I'm sorry, the question.
So, okay, this literally happened today. NFL special teams coordinators created a new kickoff proposal that would allow teams to attempt an onside kick only when trailing in the fourth quarter, and it would require them to declare it in advance. So you can only go up for an onside kick if you're down in the fourth, and you have to let the other team know you're going to do it.
No,
that's some bullshit.
That's completely horrible.
No,
that's some runner on second to start the extra innings shit.
And here's the thing though, because it is also proposed where there can be 6-on-4, like 6.
Yeah. So
your guys going against 4 defenders. So my whole thing is, I don't think it stops teams from onside kicking like after half. I don't like. I think you could still onside kick.
Here, I
but
got it for you.
You would have to say like in the fourth quarter, hey, we're gonna onside kick here. That way they know like they can only line up 4 defenders versus your 6.
Yeah, if the
so like you're asking for special treatment.
Onside kick, they potentially could be allowed to utilize an unbalanced 6x4 formation to increase their chances of recovering. As far as regular kickoff, the kick and return teams would line up on the receiving team's 40 and 35 yard lines, respectively, not leave until the ball is touched or reaches the target zone, which is the 20 to the goal line. On touchback, so the ball is kicked into the end zone. The receiving team gets it at the 35. If the ball is kicked into the target zone and rolls into the end zone, the receiving team gets it at the 20. So they're going to vote on this.
So you're trying to punch kick it into that 20 and hope that it rolls into the end zone, which that is not a bad idea because, again, it's one of those where you're kind of forcing teams not to just kick it out of the end zone, right? Because now we're getting it at the 35 instead of the 25. And then you're also trying to force teams to kick it before the end zone so that potentially there's a return, right?
Yeah.
I also do like
it's gone down so much in the last couple of years.
Yeah. And I also do like, okay, we're moving the defenders up, right? Because hopefully then like there's not as hard of collisions. There's not all of that. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a little bit of safety thought into it. Right. There's a little bit. So again, the only thing, again, that onside kick, as long as it doesn't stop onside kicks from being done whenever a team wants, then I'm fine with it.
Because it's saying you can only do it if you're down in the fourth. I mean, you can do it whenever.
Well, and that's why, like I said, I don't know if it was just worded weirdly or, you know, like I said, because like I said, I'm thinking like only when you're down in the fourth do we get this 6-on-4 formation.
Right.
So again, I think it's worded a little weirdly. So
you're confused about it.
It needs a little clarification from me before I would say yes, because like I said, because I mean, was it Seattle or Indianapolis or I forget what team it was like they came out after the half, kicked an onside and actually got the ball. And it was in like a big championship game or
New Orleans did that.
Yeah. And like I said, for me to take that away and eliminate that and only make it like allowed in the fourth, to me is crazy. Like, you know, you should have that element of surprise whenever you want it.
Right.
You know, but like I said, it's gamesmanship. Like I said, is it risky? Yeah, because then the team potentially gets the ball at, you know, half field or, you know, 50-yard line. So you don't want to do it very often. But again, it's there. If you see something where all the special team defenders turn their back and like don't pay attention and you want to take advantage of it and you think you have a pretty high chance of succeeding, then go for it. So like I said, if that eliminates completely from being able to be used whenever, then I'm against that. As for the kickoff rules, I find them interesting for sure, because we discussed a couple weeks ago that, you know, because we were talking about Devin Hester going to the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
And we were basically talking about how they have eliminated kickoffs and punt returns by all these rules. And I said, like, we need to find a way to entice teams to want to return the ball. So the way to do that is to
penalize them for kicking it in there.
Right. Like if a kicker kicks it out of the end zone, you should not get the ball at 25. And I think this is the proper way of doing it, where the kicker can no longer just kick it out of the end zone, but at the same time, like, you have to return the ball.
Right.
And we discussed, like, okay, maybe instead of 11 guys on the field for a kickoff, you go down 9 guys. You know, so it's a little more spread out, less people on the field, you know, whatever it may be, you know, whatever. So it's one of those where we discussed that. Then we discussed, you know, like, you know, kicking from 35 and, you know, like, you cannot kick it out of the end zone. You can kick it into the end zone, but if it rolls out of the end zone, then, you know, it's a penalty and they get the ball, you know. So again, we've kind of discussed stuff like that. So I'm all for suggestions. Because like I said, we were talking about Devin Hester, and it's like, dude, that it's like a walk-off homer, in the ninth. It's one of those plays that is so captivating. It is so energizing to a team, because like I said, once you see that guy break open, like past that last defender, and he's got 30 yards of running left to go, you're just losing your mind.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't tell you how many times I watched Devin Hester do it and just sit there like losing my mind. It was like one of the most amazing things to watch. Like I said, he very deservedly belongs in the Hall of Fame as one of the best punt kick returners to ever do it.
Look, the way that the rules are set up now, it's very similar to the way that pitchers are not going to get home runs anymore, right? You kind of just cut that out of the game.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, to me, something needed to be done. So I'm not against some suggestions being thrown out there. And like I said, we'll see what the teams think.
All right. We went a little long.
Does Mr. Bailey have any more?
No, he jumped off because he's watching the Bulls.
Now it's the time to talk shit about him, because he actually is going to watch the Bulls, because I don't know what the fuck his problem is.
Yeah, I told him jump on so we can talk about Bulls, but he's like, no, he can't.
He must be tired and he's about to go take a nap, because that's who he's watching right now. That's the worst. It is the worst. And I have the Blackhawks game on. You want to talk about bad? I can't watch the Bulls anymore. I can't.
We're not even going to discuss Bulls and Blackhawks next week. We went long in the tooth. Actually, we'll save the stirring the pot as well for next week. We're a little long. So I want to thank Cody from CHGO. I want to thank E-Roc for also joining us and making a special guest appearance and cracking me up and our listeners. Thanks, E-Roc, for look, Steven dropped out. That's great.
Yep. And listen, before we go, I got two things I want to mention. Number one, I'm going under the knife next Monday to get my other hip replaced. So I want to make sure I came on here to talk some shit in case they give me too much anesthesia. You can watch this episode over and over again and think of me. Number two, Chris Mortensen passing away. That was a huge blow to the NFL community. I listened to Adam Schefter talk about him on the radio today, and just talk about like what he meant to the sport and what he meant to everybody, how he never wanted to be in the spotlight, but he's always that dude, and you can always trust him. He knew everything before everyone else. Yeah. And the last thing I want to mention is happy birthday to my homie Roger. Today is his birthday, the same as the city of Chicago. Happy birthday, Chicago. But my homie Roger, who we went to school with, who we graduated with, he passed away about 6 years ago, but today is his birthday. He would never acknowledge it. He would actually make fun of me if I was, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Happy birthday, Roger.
All right, thanks, E-Roc. All great points. I mean, it's just been a up and down season with the people we've lost. Again, thank you guys for a 2-hour episode. Wow, and lots of information jam-packed, but it was a good one. Again, thank you to Cody from CHGO and E-Roc for making that special guest appearance. E-Roc, you're going to be fine. You'll be the $1 million man with $2 million worth of hip replacements on there. I'm gonna walk around with a magnet.
When you hear the robot sound walking down the street, I'm coming. I'm coming. I'll be back, man.
He's in Inspector Gadget.
Chops.
Yeah.
I'll kind of bust chops. I just let me know, because I gotta check that softball schedule. That's the reason I left in the first place.
Yeah, that's softball schedule. But I think being Mondays and being live and just doing it for an hour for 90 minutes, I think maybe we can fit it in there. But it'll be a good time. It'll be a time. All right, a big thank you.
Give us an update. Let us know how the surgery goes.
Yeah. I'll stay updated with E-Roc, and we'll talk about it next week on the show. I mean, he'd be out of anesthesia by the time we're on the show, right? What time is your surgery?
Yeah, sure. Well, as long as they get me on in the morning. I mean, look, I'll probably be, honestly, the next Monday after that, I'll probably be sitting at home, bored out of my fucking mind. So you hit me up, I'll come on.
Okay, sounds great. A big thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 to get your 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Get your shirts now. Check out the rest of the 606 Media lineup. The newest show in the 606 Media family is Intoxicated with Big Z. So far, there's 2 episodes. One with Miguel Esparza, where we talk about his venture and climb into being the Spanish broadcaster for the Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, and the Bears. And then my second one is with Rosa Silva. Also, it's a Lane Tank alumni. She is a house DJ, tearing it up all over. And it was a great interview to talk to her and get to catch up with her because we were classmates and we had some classes, and great to see what our Lane Tech family is doing. It's such a big community, and they're doing so much. So episode 2, it is out in Podscated. You can find that on YouTube, and it'll be available by the time you listen to this on the audio version tomorrow morning. So we also have the No Water on the Weekend podcast with Steven and Sean. And he was on there. He's pretty funny sometimes, and check out his show. He got a couple comedians on this past week, so I'm pretty sure he got roasted because that's what I usually do when I go on his show. I roast him. Shout out to Ronesh, Panic, Serious Beats, and Custom Made for the beats we played on the audio version of today's show. Check out paniconthebeat.com for your moment, merch, and gear. And you can check us out on social media, True Shy Fans on, TCSF Pod on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, obviously, if you're watching here, IG, Spotify, Apple. Make sure you give us 5 stars on your review if you're on the audio version. So if you have a question, comment, or a suggestion for stirring the pot or a topic you want to talk about, hit us up at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. And for JC Dynasty, Cody from CHGO, E-Roc, and Stevie-B, I am Big Z, and we'll see you next time for episode 185. And until then, be good to each other for the love of sports.
A few moments later.
Wait, the Bears are what we thought they were. What we thought they were.
This is not how we wanted it to go. You almost can't even make it up. It's that bad.
Oh, my goodness! Didn't see that coming! What? Did we just become best friends? Yup!
You have a lot of incest. That's real.
Shut your mouth.
Lover boy.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I think he's on steroids.
Hasta luego, amigos. That's all. I shouldn't have had those artichoke poppers.
Thanks, Cubs!